Let me get another drink. I'll be right back, Mo. Right. What'd you say, bro? You say you saw a monk deep in. Oh, let me get my drink. I'm sorry. All right. All right. So now we at the part. We at the principle of rhythm, family. The principle of rhythm. Everything flows out and in. Everything manifests. Has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swings, manifests in everything, Moors. And the measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. What I'm saying, Moors, is rhythm compensates. Rhythm compensates. So let's dig into it. This principle embodies truth, Moors, that everything there is manifest a measured motion, a measured motion, a to and a fro, a flow and an inflow, a swing back and forth, a pendulum-like movement, a tide-like ebb and flow, a high tide and a low tide between the two poles, which exist in accordance with the principle of polarity described earlier, Moors. There is always an action and the reaction, family, and the advance and a retreat, a rising and a sinking, family. This is it, this is in the affairs of the universe, the suns, the worlds, men, animals, mind, energy, and matter. This law is manifest in the creation and the destruction of worlds, Moors. Right? Come on. In the rise and the falls of the nations, in the life of all things, and finally in the mental states of man. And it is with this latter that the Kemetic and Adapt have also discovered certain means to discover its effects in themselves, in ourselves, by the use of the appropriate formulas, which I call our arcana of our concoction, what we use to heal ourselves. They apply the mental law of neutralization. Follow me. You got to know how to apply the mental law of neutralization, Moors. We cannot be annulled to principle or cause it to cease in operations, but we have learned how to escape its effects upon ourselves to certain degrees, depending upon the mastery of this principle, depending on how far your self-mastery degrees have been, depending on how high you have elevated yourself into your higher self, mentally, spiritually, and physically. We've learned how to use instead of being used by it. We don't let anyone suck our energy or no thing or no principality. In this and similar methods consists the art of the Kemetic and Adapts, Moors. The master of the Kemetic Science, we polarize ourselves at the point at which we desire to rest and then neutralize the rheumatic swing of the pendulum, which would tend to carry us to the other pole. Are you following me, family? All individuals who have attained any degree of self-mastery do this to a certain degree, more or less unconsciously. But the master does this consciously and by the use of his will, and attain a degree of poise and mental firmness almost impossible of belief of the part of the masses, neutralizing and using them for an important part of the Kemetic mental alchemy. When I tell you are the gold, you're changing your physical element, you're changing your chemical element. You are the gold. Has its cause. Everything happens according to the law. Chance is but a name for law, not recognized. Nothing but a recognition, but nothing escapes the law. So the principle embodies the fact that there is a cause for everything, a cause for every effect, and an effect for every cause. It explains that everything happens. There's not a such thing against. There are various planes of cause and effect, the higher dominating the lower planes. Still nothing ever entirely escapes law, family. The Kemetic and adapt, we understand that the art and methods of rising above the ordinary plane of cause and effect to a certain degree, and by rising to a high plane and becoming causers instead of we should be causers instead of the effects. So the masses of people are carried along, obedient to environment, the wills and the desires of others stronger than themselves. Heredity dominate their moods, as well as their environment surrounding them, and become movers instead of pawns. They help to play the game of life instead of being played and moved about by others' will and environment. We use the principle instead of being its tools. Us as masters obey the causation of the higher planes, but they also help rule on their own plane. That's the wealth of the Kemetic knowledge. The principle. We almost done. The principle of gender. Gender is everything manifest. Everything manifest has its masculine and feminine. Principle gender manifests on all carnal planes. On all carnal planes, family. This principle embodies the truth that there is gender manifest in everything, Moors. The masculine and feminine principles are ever at work. This is true not only of the physical plane, but of the mental and even the soul, Moors. On the physical plane, the principle manifests as sex. On the soul plane, it takes forms, but the principle is ever the same, family. No creation, physical, mental, soul, is possible without the principle. And an understanding of its laws will throw light, will illuminate on many a subject that has perplexed the mind of all men. The principle of gender works ever in the direction of generation and regeneration. Everything and every person contains the two elements of principle, or this great principle, philosophy of mental and spirit creation, generation and regeneration. You must understand and study the Kemetic principle. Moors, it contains the solution of many mysteries of life, I promise you. We caution you that the principle has no reference to the many base. We got to understand this, Moors, and understand the science. It's all about you, Moors. I love you all. We gotta get this right. We gotta understand that what the Murakaba is, the divine apparatus of the Moorish adapt, the apparatus of the spirit plane, which is the cherubim, the apparatus of the thought plane, which is the seraphim, the apparatus of the soul plane, which is the angels, the apparatus plane. That's men. And Moors, the Moorish Kaaba of Allah. It's all us, man. I love you all. Love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, health, and wealth. Peace. I'm done, man.